Micah and Ray, Tiffany Henyard and her team travel in style. First-class airfare, fine dining, and five-star hotels. It's in sharp contrast to the communities they represent, which have a per capita income of $29,000 a year, and 20% of the population lives below the poverty level.
I am in the White House.
Tiffany Henyard has a taste for travel. There she is, front and center at the White House at a meeting for mayors this month.
I'm here taking care of the people's business.
It's how she travels that caught our eye.
I shouldn't have to sit up here and break all this down.
Henyard serves as the mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thornton Township, two elected positions that earned her more than $287,000 in 2022. But here's what happens when you ask her about how she spends taxpayer money.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
Political strife is a fact of life in local government here.
You the ones that's costing the village money. I don't have that call. I would call.
All right.
Okay.
What was she supposed to do? You wanted her to expound that? Don't drag out the meeting.
I made something.
As we've reported, public meetings frequently devolve into chaos. Municipal bills don't get paid. Several employees have sued, claiming retaliation. And some business owners claim Henyard targets her opponents. Tiffany Henyard's spending and self-promotion are big issues here. Her face is everywhere, from government mailings to billboards. Those signs cost taxpayers more than $22,000.
Again, the people. Oh yeah.
She's also something of a social media star.
God chose me. You may have hired me, but God chose me.
Somebody knows something. Don't nobody know nothing. Leave me alone.
I don't think she's fit to be a mayor. I think she really want to be a reality television star.
Nikita Cloud was Tiffany Henyard's chief of staff in Dalton for less than a year. We spoke with her after WGN Investigates first exposed how Henyard and other officials spent thousands of dollars on trips, meals, and more that they've refused to explain. Now, a new batch of records from Thornton Township shows the spending spree hasn't slowed. Credit card charges show that in just 5 months, township taxpayers footed the bill for more than $23,000 in restaurant meals statewide. Then there's the travel. Records show township officials spent more than $67,000 on trips to Portland, Austin, Atlanta, and New York City. Many of the flights were first class. Nikita Cloud wasn't on those trips, but has been to many meals with Henyard and her cronies, who she says have no qualms about using public money for private enjoyment.
Over-the-top meals, lobster, crab legs. She liked the good stuff.
And when you were with her at these meals, was government business discussed?
No.
Henyard and her allies have defended the spending, claiming the trips are for conferences or to help recruit new businesses. Do you know the government purpose of any of that travel?
No, I really don't.
Chris Gonzalez is the last remaining Henyard opponent on the township board. And what happens when you ask?
Nothing. Really, just no answers.
When the charity hasn't filed its financial disclosures about how money was spent.
How would I know that? That's a good question, though.
A question we had hoped to pose to Tiffany Henyard, but the township meeting was abruptly canceled 30 minutes after it was scheduled to begin. Henyard was in the house, but went out a back door with Freeman in her wake. Keith, we'd like to talk to you or Supervisor Henyard about some of the questions.
So I think one of the major concepts that doesn't get a lot of attention is the fact that all of this stuff that the Supermayor, that Tiff, that Tahoe Tiff is doing within, Village of Dalton and Township of Thornton, doing to communities that cannot afford to have these kind of shenanigans being pulled on the daily. Just can't afford it. They don't have the tax revenue. They don't have the tax base to have a slush fund for all of this to be okay. They don't have the financial resources to make this go. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. Let's get into it. The walls appear to be closing in around Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, Tahoe Tiff, the Supermayor, right? The dictator from Dalton. That's a new one I just heard. The mayor of the small South suburb has been the subject of numerous media reports detailing highly questionable spending. Highly questionable. I am questioning that, as well as retaliatory attacks on and harassment of perceived political enemies, including local businesses, all of which have thrown Dalton into what can legitimately be described as chaos. And we all tend to focus on the chaos. Hey, look what she did. Look what happened here. Look at this. But what is driving all of this is that you've got residents trying to live their normal lives and things are going wildly out of control. And they are concerned that their taxpayers' money is being spent in a way that is going to put them at a financial chaos and disaster for years moving forward. The FBI reportedly is investigating her both in her capacity as Dalton mayor and as supervisor of Thornton Township, which covers Dalton and 16 other South suburbs. She is also a defendant in lawsuits by former employees. Yeah. There's like 30 lawsuits total just flying around. She hasn't been making payments. Her vehicles, like a whole bunch of the police cars for the village of Dalton, were going to get repoed. You were going to have Emilio Estevez and Repo Man go get the cars. Yeah, I mean, just stuff that shouldn't be happening. Bills not being paid on time. Just mismanagement. Tiff allegedly paying, all her friends. She's got the police force as her private security force. Unfortunately for the beleaguered suburb, which in the normal course of affairs experiences more than its fair share of troubles due to its high poverty rate and declining population, it's a town that's already got issues going into this, right? Has had for decades and decades, it sounds like. Henyard isn't up for re-election until 2025. While she remains in place, there are worries about keeping up with such basic municipal services as timely garbage collection. Like, hey, do we have the money to pay our contractors who are contracting to pick up garbage within the city? Do we have the money to pay those bills? So that's literally a concern. It's not, oh, did Tiff, did she pay for this with this account? That is a major concern. But the overriding concern by the constituents is our garbage going to get picked up? What's going on with that? Like basic line items like that. I've heard so many of you mention Seattle soy boys. Those are weak, blue-haired men who have lost their traditional masculinity. It's undeniable that such weakened masculinity in urban areas, it's had significant impacts. These feminized men are easier to control and less likely to push back, aligning with the societal shift that labels outspoken men as sexist or misogynist. Meanwhile, mainstream media demonizes traditional masculinity, calling it toxic. Research shows a dramatic decline in men's testosterone levels and physical strength over recent decades, influenced by sedentary lifestyle and poor diets. That's why I recommend Black Forest Testosterone with Tonkat Ali supplement. This plant-based product promotes increased testosterone and muscle mass while reducing stress. I've personally experienced improved recovery times and overall energy levels. Dubbed the feminization killer, this supplement combines two potent natural testosterone boosters. It's an effective way to counteract soy boy syndrome. With Black Forest Testosterone, I've seen noticeable improvements in energy, strength, and sleep quality. You too can experience these benefits with an exclusive buy two, get one free offer available on their website. Black Forest Supplements is operated by patriots committed to resisting a system that aims to weaken us. By supporting this sponsor, you can help sustain this channel and reclaim robust health and confidence. Check out the special link below for this promotion. Thank you for your support. So this article from the Chicago Tribune literally goes on to say, yes, garbage collection, as if it's such a basic thing. that, gets overlooked. The Dalton Board of Trustees, meeting a few days ago with Mayor Henyard absent, approved one of their own as president pro tem to act in the mayor's stead if she's unavailable to ensure services such as trash pickup aren't interrupted. The village apparently was late in paying its garbage vendor, and someone needed to sign paperwork to ensure money for servicing of bonds floated to cover trash collection. I mean, you just got financial mismanagement left and right. Yeah, you know what I mean? You can't hide that kind of thing. You can float over some of this stuff that Tahoe TIF has done. But you got bonds to cover trash collection included in the village's property tax levy. Henyard's misadventures have put her at loggerheads with the substantial caucus of the board, which has led to these sorts of embarrassing miscues. People want to walk out and go, okay, why didn't my garbage get picked up today? They just want to walk out, grab their garbage can, pull it under their house. However it's done in Dalton, however it's done in Township of Thornton, right? Henyard appears to be in a league of her own when it comes to audacious corruption. But Dalton isn't alone among South Suburbs and its miseries. Many municipalities in the Southland region have long been afflicted by sky-high property taxes that fall particularly hard on the many residents carving out modest at best livings. This is not an affluent area. You don't have Porsches and Lamborghinis just rolling around, right? You got the occasional BMW, and then you got the occasional $150,000 Tahoe. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about that needs to know. Corruption in the Chicago region and in Illinois as a whole long has imposed a grotesque tax of sorts on residents and businesses throughout the state. But it hits harder in places like Dalton that can barely afford to provide basic services under the best of circumstances. These folks have no margin. So they are right in being diligent with asking the questions. So exactly what is our budget? What is the expenses that we've incurred? Basic things like that. Like, do we have enough money to keep operating forward? What was spent here? How about this expense here? Because if it's from my understanding, all of these questions are being asked. There's been no real response from Mayor Tiff. In fact, when asked these questions, it's always this deflection of, well, I don't handle the credit cards. Go ask him. I was just riding a bike, right? The sooner the scourge of Tiffany Henyard can be ended, whether at the ballot box or at the hands of federal law enforcement, the better. So it looks like we got two ways of Tiff going out. One, the normal way, which is she just, ends up like Lori Lightfoot, like Beetlejuice, and doesn't even make it out of her primary in a 3-man race. She takes third. Not good. Doesn't even make it. Right? That's what happens when you don't essentially do your job. And I don't think there was the calls for Lori Lightfoot that was spending money, badly. She just was totally upside down with the whole crime element going on in Chicago. Just this massive rise of violence. And, everything's good here. Well, no, Beetlejuice, it's not. Some of Henyard's maneuvers as she faces intensifying pushback from members of the Dalton board and other local officials are the stuff of comedic overreach. As a recent Fox 32 expose of Henyard's doings reminded us, the Daily Southtown reported that Thornton Township Assessor Cassandra Elston had been locked out of her own office. Yeah, we watched that one. Goes up, tries to put her key in there. It doesn't work. And this was apparently on the orders of Henyard, who doubles as the township supervisor, in addition to serve as Dalton's mayor. Elston is a separately elected official, so Henyard has no oversight of her. Talking about the town assessor versus the mayor. And the mayor is like, screw you. I'm not letting you into your office. I'm going to go and have maintenance rekey the lock on your door. And then nobody else in the assessor's department is going to be able to get in. That'll fix it. That'll solve it all. Henyard routinely travels with the Dalton police escort made up of several cops who work substantial overtime hours and are paid accordingly to chaperone her. One dude had 303 hours in a 2-week period. You do the math, right? This is in a village with a modest police force that the former Dalton police chief, whom Henyard fired late last year and is now suing the village for wrongful termination, told Fox 32 that can only afford a few cops on duty per shift. And you see Mayor Tiff dropping off water, and she's got a contingent of how many cops and how many other people in various forms of payroll. It's wild stuff, right? And then late last week, there was an issue over Tiff paying for her makeup artist, or I found it to be more of a stylist, was literally taking taxpayers' dollars and covering $1,500 charges for her looking fly in her style outfits, right? She had a lot of, and you could see them all. I did the podcast, and you could see them all on the stylist's Instagram page. Now, you just got to go there, and there's Tiff. 45 different, I'm doing this, I'm doing this walk, and I'm walking with here, I'm walking with here. Yeah, and she had on a different outfit in every single one. Man, I'm not much of a clothes horse like that, but those can't be cheap outfits. I mean, they just can't. And a lot of them looked like they were custom fit for her, so they were, so literally thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, allegedly, of taxpayers' dollars being spent. Yeah, what's the return on that stuff? There are many other allegations of questionable spending, so many, in fact, that the Dalton board moved to hire former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, we all know about this, to perform a thorough audit of the village's finances under Henyard. The mayor vetoed, Tiff vetoed the measure to hire Lightfoot, and an override vote is scheduled for next month. That happened, and the village overrode the mayor's veto, and they said, yep, we're doing it. And then they tried to get Lori Lightfoot to talk, and Lori Lightfoot's mic was cut. And then Tiff, the Supermayor, booted everybody out from their own building in their own town. Yeah, I mean, just the whole thing is it's drama. We urge the board to go ahead with the Lightfoot hiring, even though it'll come at a cost. Okay, so that did happen. Here's where the rubber hits the road. In the meantime, Henyard's story displays many of the troubling hallmarks common to political life in the South Suburbs. The two offices she holds pay her a combined salary of $270,000. What's wrong with this picture? That's way too much money. I don't give a rat's ass about the previous guy that was in this position, and he got bumped up, over the years. I think he had 13 different terms in office. This is a rookie mayor who's got some experience as a supervisor. She's making $224, the Thornton Township, where she took over that guy's job. She makes another 46 as Dalton mayor. Now, if she was making 46 and 46, I'd be okay with that. That seems to make sense. She's got responsibilities. She's going to have to do stuff for both entities. But when you're taking down a huge number like that in an area that doesn't warrant that type of compensation, and this part is not in question. It's just, all right, so that dude died and then she got appointed and she's making nearly $300,000 a year. But then she has not paid one dime out of her own pocket for anything. It does not appear. The Thornton Township post is so lucrative that Henyard's late last year convinced the township's board of trustees to pass a measure, a poison pill, that would cut the supervisor's salary to $25,000 if she lost. Somebody else comes in, you get $25,000. I keep going, I get $224. So who wants to come in and make $25 for a job that currently pays $224, right? But only if someone other than Henyard holds the job does it go down to $25. She keeps it. I mean, that's just straight up illegal. Straight up illegal. This would never make it through a court case. Never make it through a lawsuit. It remains $224 so long as she is in the post. That presumably will get laughed out of court if it gets that far, but such is life in Henyard world. She's just operating in her own little vacuum, and this is what's going on. So here's the second part. So you've got a mayor that's wildly overpaid in a couple of positions, and she's just going to town on this township and village, right? In Dalton, for example, the average residential property tax bill tops $4,500 a year. And you might say, I've been living in San Francisco and I'd love to have those taxes. But here's the kicker. The median home value in Dalton was around $129,000 from 2018 to 2022. So pretty stable property values, kind of what we're saying, and $4,500 a year. Those are some high property taxes relative to median home value of $129. Just are, right? Just are. The median household income was below $55,000. And you've got Tahoe Tiff running around in a Tahoe that, because it was bought from a subprime lender, car lender, leasing company, cost 3 times that, about $150,000. So Tahoe Tiff is running around in a $150,000 Tahoe and allegedly a BMW that's being paid by one of these entities, while the median household income is below $55,000. Not a lot of money slushing around here. This is not the kind of town where you can just, well, maybe they won't really notice my BMW. Maybe they, I need this Tahoe for my safety. You know, what's interesting is Tahoe Tiff takes the security on the road with her when she's traveling to another city or location. So you're going to, call it Portland. What are you taking the security for? Do other mayors travel with that? Not of a town size of 20,000 people. They certainly don't. Don't have it in the budget. And that is what the bottom line about this is that is so disheartening, is that Tahoe Tiff is taking advantage of her own constituents, and they don't make a lot of money to begin with. And what little money they do have on hand is going out the window for this ridiculous spending. About 20% of the mainly black population of around 20,000 lives in poverty. All right, so 1 out of 5 of the population, and I think the population, I'm going off memory here, it's something like 92% black. So you've got a mostly black population. 1/5 of them are below the poverty line. The ones that are doing okay are making somewhere around 55. And then housing price is affordable. Yes, affordable. But you throw in the big taxes in there, you can see where all of this just kind of comes at these residents, and they're pissed off and they're like, no, we can't afford this anymore. This is not how a village should be run. This is not how a township should be run. And Tiff is getting pushback from both of those entities. You can see it in the board meetings of both of those entities. These are, this is one of those totally obvious statements right here. These are not the kind of demographics that can withstand the cost of corruption. And the folks within Dalton and the folks within the township of Thornton, they know this. They know they are being spent into the ground. And they are pissed off because this is a small community. It is not a huge community. They can see what's going on. Hey, Tiff's taking trips. Hey, Tiff went to Vegas. Hey, Tiff went to Atlanta. Tiff went to Portland. Hey, Tiff went here. Hey, Tiff just drove by in her BMW. Hey, Tiff just drove by in the, the contingency of 18 police officers, whatever it is she runs around with. She runs around with a contingency of police officers that should be protecting the citizens that are paying her salary. Right? Yeah. So many things going on here. Tiffany Henyard's fate is yet to be determined. Whatever happens, Dalton and many other municipalities like it can't take much more of her like. Agreed. I would 100% agree. This is, it's a terrible story, and yet it's a train wreck because we want to see what's going to happen to Tahoe Tiff, dictator of Dalton, Tahoe Tiff. We just want to see what's going to happen. I think we want to see justice for the people that have had to endure this. I know I do, because I don't have this in my community. And if I did have this in my community, I would be screaming at board meetings as well. I would be out of my seat. If somebody was threatening to have me, jailed because I'm speaking my mind at my own board meeting, I would go berserk as well. So to all of you residents in Dalton, all of you residents in the township of Thornton, I'm with you. Something just ain't right here, right? Need to get to the bottom of it. And like so many people say, well, how's Tiff going to look in orange? Yeah, because we're going to keep following it until we get to that stage or an election happens and she's out. Either which way, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. I'm going to be covering this topic for a while. Thanks for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.